Ladies and gentlemen, welcome today to the panel discussion on the group exhibition Hydrogen and Fuel Cells 2015. I think we have a very interesting discussion until 12 o'clock for 40 minutes in the next time. And we will discuss an interesting topic also related from the previous presentation we had from Roland Berger. For those who have heard this presentation about the brand new study for the commercialization of stationary fuel cells. It's a discussion on the podium, self-evident, but you are very much invited to ask your questions. So we will hand over the microphone by my colleague. I have the best assistant I can imagine with Uli Walter. And so roughly in 10 to 15 minutes latest, I will ask you the first round to open the questions if you have one. So it would be really a stimulation of the discussion to contribute. The mCHP's roadmap for market launch, the topic we are discussing today, is a very interesting one, as we are really in a status, I would say, from an industry point of view, which is now very important, because products have to be developed for a long time, and now it's really important to get into the market in a wide range of number of units. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our guests on the podium. On the right side, I would like to welcome Fiona Riddoch. Fiona Riddoch is the coordinator of the large demonstration and preparation program in Europe, Ene.field. And she's director of Cogen Europe, the European Association for Promotion of Cogeneration. Welcome, Fiona, on the podium. On her left, Bert de Colvenaer. He's director of the Fuel Cells and Hydrogen Joint Undertaking in Brussels. Welcome, Bert.
Good morning.
Morning. Left to him is Andreas Ballhausen. He's spokesman of the German initiative Fuel Cell, an industry association consisting of energy utilities and manufacturers of micro-CHP systems and fuel cells. And last but not least, Erik Schumacher, close to me. He is program manager for the stationary fuel cells in the National Innovation Program for Hydrogen and Fuel Cells in Germany. So welcome all of you. It's a pleasure to have you here today to discuss this important topic. I would like to start directly with referring to the previous presentation we had from Roland Berger. As you probably have recognized, there's a brand new study published on behalf of the joint undertaking. Roland Berger Consultancies has worked intensively for a couple of periods, I think more than half a year, intensively work with a big team all over Europe and with the stakeholders of more than 30 companies in order to investigate the potentials of micro-CHP fuel cells and also commercial and large-scale fuel cells in a residential, commercial and industrial segment. Markus is still here, right there, as one of the people worked intensively on the study. And Markus, I would like to start directly with one question to you indeed. You have shown big potentials for, in particular, micro-CHP as one of the segments you investigated in your study, which describes first a large potential in volumes, about 2.5 million we heard in the investigated markets, UK, Italy, Poland and Germany. We have heard that micro-CHP can contribute significantly on energy reduction targets, so primary energy reduction by at least 23%, I have in mind. Also the reduction of CO2 emissions in the energy policy framework of the European Union. But, and this I think this is remarkable, you request also a commitment of the industry in the next phase of commercialization of the fuel cells. And I would like to ask you again, what is meant with the commitment from the point of view of Roland Berger? What is necessary from your point of view?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what we essentially say is two things. First of all, talking about micro CHP, I think it's critical that the ongoing projects in Europe that where we try to show the market readiness of the technology, and also try to show that we can deploy larger number of units, that these projects are delivered successfully. I think this is the immediate priority, is that we can get the projects like Ene.field, we have Fiona on stage, that these projects are delivered successfully, so that we can show to policymakers, to the industry, that we are able to deliver those volumes. And then what we mean in the second way about commitment is that once we put a market introduction program in place, because we think that the public benefits justify it, that we then agree on specific targets in terms of cost reduction, sustained performance and improvement, and as well as specific volumes, that we have like I said, come up with a pact that is also monitored, because I think that's what's required at this point, that we don't just ask for that the industry doesn't ask for money, but that it's clear that it's a quid pro quo essentially, and that's what we mean.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to pick this major requirement, I think, to process on the route to market now. Hand over directly to Andreas as a spokesman of the industry, more or less. Taking this request from Roland Berger's study that this is necessary to have a further commitment, I would like to say it's a further commitment because we have already one in Germany and in Europe. The question to you, is the industry really ready to deliver? Is the industry really, I would say, in the phase of industrialization, or is it still a development of products in an R&D phase? What is your, looking on the complete industry, what is your point of view here?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, because if you point it out, you could ask, can you trust the industry on their roadmap to the market? And to explain that, I would like to have a short look into the past. You see, for the German market, we created a roadmap for Germany for residential fuel cell application. This was the basic for the National Innovation Program. And in 2011, we made a forecast for the next couple of years. So our estimation was that in 2015, 800 units will be deployed in Germany. So if you visit us at our booth, you can see the headline, 1,000 fuel cell units are running in Germany. So we really fulfill our goals. We even are better than our expectation were. And the reason why it was quite good was that we had in former time a very good innovation program. We had a very strong relationship between the government and the industry, and we were really able to fulfill a structured deployment plan. But the next goal would be 2,000 units in 2016. And I guess we will miss this goal even in Germany. What is the reason? So we had a very good R&D program, but now we need something like a market introduction program. So here's we have to ask the state, but if you ask me, is the industry ready? I would like to invite you to our booth. You can see we have now 8 units on the booth. So we are not talking about some enthusiastic companies. We are talking about an industry. We have old traditional heating suppliers there. We have innovative startup companies there. We have a variety of different technology and market approaches. And this is necessary if you talk about a new technology. It wouldn't make sense to have just one kind of fuel cell type, one company. You need the variety to have a race between technologies and market approach. And I would say, yeah, we are in the pole position, and the industry is waiting or wants to get into the market.
Okay, thank you. That's a clear statement. So products are ready, in particular with the technology, and you're waiting for the next step. So Bert, one question to you. We've heard after an intensive work on behalf of the joint undertaking, the study is now published. We see a very big potential, in particularly, and a clear roadmap, also recommendation of the study, to follow the next steps into the market introduction of stationary fuel cells, starting with the micro CHP segment. we see potentials which micro-CHP fuel cells can really contribute to the energy policy in Europe. But also absolutely necessary to decrease costs, because one of the points which Ray raised in the Roland Berger study is clearly that costs are much too high at the moment with regards to the capex. So the customer has to pay a lot of compared to conventional technologies and competitive technologies. And this is not, in a total cost of ownership value, is not valid today. With regards to your responsibility as the director of the joint undertaking, seeing the two pillars, transport and energy, what is your impression about the contribution, about the success, the status of micro-CHP in the portfolio of the common goals and the mission of the joint undertaking? What is your impression up to now, and what do you see is necessary for the next?
The image we have in the joint undertaking as a European funding scheme for fuel cells and hydrogen is that maybe when we started 5-6 years ago, the image on micro-CHP was maybe not the brightest. The main achievement from the joint undertaking is just to gather all these industrial players and work together on, next to the study, which has been deeply discussed, also in realizing the different projects, development and demonstration programs. The joint undertaking is really a platform where the industry and researchers meet to build out this strategy, and we do have the European funds available to just finance this study. It's a joint work trying to outline what is the strategy to go forward on the micro-CHP, but also on the other pillars and the other technology fields. So having that strategy now, and with the joint undertaking funding under the Horizon 2020 program, which is up to an amount of 650 million euro, which is quite a substantial amount of money, we believe indeed that the key problem still around the whole micro-CHP is the cost. We need to get it down. Yes, there are still some technical issues, and still we need to work on that, first, second and third generation, but we need to reduce the cost. How can we reduce the cost? Of course, working on the materials and the systems itself. Make it simpler, make it less precious metal, I mean, the whole story around that. That's one aspect. The second aspect, of course, cost reduction is to get the volumes, volume of scale. And I believe that the joint undertaking does have the funds and also does have the mandate to just invest and show that the cost reduction can be realized once we putting more units in the field. Yes, and as I said, with the 650, we do have part of that money. Not all the money is going to the micro-CHP, of course, but part of that money can be invested just to roll out in a steady state more units, allowing the individual industry players to not only build 50 units, but really go to order of magnitude 100, 500 units, where you say, well, we now need, how to say, more a production line. Once you get this, once you get the repetitive mechanism, you will see the cost gradually going down. This is the situation micro-CHP. This is the situation any commercial industrial product. The more volume you have, your cost automatically is going down. So the joint undertaking is ready to work with the industry to see how we can steadily reduce the cost on volumes, but of course also on technology.
Thank you, Bert. Clear statement. I think, Fiona, we have heard from both Andreas and Bert. There's a commitment from the industry. The products are ready. We can see it in the booth on the German IBZ. We have heard from Bert that the framework on a European level on the joint undertaking is there. There's sufficient money. I think this is a good basis for further development. You have a very good, let's say, overview of European markets, and especially to micro-CHP, but not all. What do you think is necessary with regards to fuel cells in this residential segment in the next period of time, looking that we have a starting point from a German lead market, which is clearly those ones who have installed the most units up to now, looking on the perspective that the manufacturers like Viessmann, Vaillant, Bosch and the others have to install also all over Europe, or not only in Germany. What do you think is necessary next? With regards to deploy units in a higher amount of volumes, which Bert and Andreas mentioned?
Well, first let me say that from the way I look at it, there's a very high commitment from the manufacturers to this market segment and from the joint undertaking. We're seeing that through Ene.field. There is a challenge beyond that, which is that we are not alone in the market. There are many products out there. And for micro-CHP, the challenge is to develop a true understanding of the full product, of the channel, of the support mechanisms, of how the product will be deployed. We see strong positive reaction from customers. Customers are very excited by the idea of generating heat and power in the market, but getting those products to the right customers, to the ones who can properly deploy the product, is a challenge in itself. Now, Germany with Calux has started that market understanding, market development. What we need to see now in other European countries is how are we to do this? How is this market development to be taken forward?
Okay, thank you, Fiona. Erik, the National Innovation Program for Hydrogen and Fuel Cells in Germany started in 2006 already. I think it's the final year now in the phase 1. You are responsible for the stationary applications in charge in the National Organization for Hydrogen and Fuel Cells. We have 3 different, or not different, I think very in line comments on what is necessary. And Fiona also referred to Calux already. Looking on this very first field trial, practical field trial, I think it's called, the Calux program. We have now 1,000 systems in Germany, as we heard. I think 500 of them comes from Calux. With respect to that, are you able to see what had Calux mean? Why it was important to install such a framework as Calux, as a Lighthouse program? And could you already make something like a first result out of that most progressing field trial?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so as you mentioned, there are nearly 500 units installed. So and the Lighthouse Calux is pretty close to its end. So the installation phase at least is done. The systems are running, and for now, I think we can say the Lighthouse is a pretty good success. We had several goals, several things we wanted to investigate with that field test. Beside performance, there were also things like what does the market look like, what do the customers want, how is installation working, how do utilities see the technology, and all that questions were more or less answered positive. So in every area we had some very good results. Beside one, which is the cost, there was the hope to get the cost down already with that Lighthouse, which didn't work out as expected. But I think we already heard some comments about that, so that the volume is pretty important, and 500 is simply not enough. But I think the technology had the chance to prove that it works, so that customers are pretty satisfied and want the units to run, and they want to buy a unit like they have in their cellars. So therefore I think it's a success, and we were able to look also at the market and the needs of the customer, which I think was a good result for preparing the market, and as a result also for the OEMs to see what is important for customers.
Okay, so final conclusion is Calux was a success and has prepared as a very important first step the market, at least in Germany, and now I think we have to expand that also. But this could be the second question after then to Fiona all over Europe, because we have to deploy units not only in Germany. I think it's time for a first possibility for questions. Yeah, I see here one question.
Hello, good morning. I have been following the micro CHP market for over 10 years, and basically I don't agree with your optimism, because starting 2008, when you read the press release, market introduction will come next year, 2009 next year, 2010 next year, and so on. So I think if you don't stabilize the technology, especially for the fuel cell, because we see generation 1, 2, 3, if you don't reduce drastically the price, which is almost impossible for fuel cell, because the cheapest units are internal combustion engine from Honda, and if the industry doesn't stop to rely on public money, I think all products will remain as prototype. You mentioned 100, 500 units, but they are prototypes for me when you have millions of boilers sold every year.
Okay, thank you for that question. I think it's a question for Andreas. I would like to already agree that it is a common understanding already on the booth that the regression of cost is one of the major challenges. I agree, I think. The question for us, I think, Andreas, is how can we achieve that? That's the major issue, I think.
Yep. First, I would like to agree that the industry has a problem because you see, in the late 90s, we expected a market introduction beginning of 2000. And I'm in the fuel cell business since 96, and it is a continuation. Yeah, market introduction will be in 3 years. But now it's different. What is different compared to the former time? First, you see, there are not only single companies approaching the fuel cell technology, it's a branch. There's a big variety of different companies. Second point is there are 1,000 units in Germany running, additional units in UK and different member states. We wouldn't run 1,000 units if the technology is not reliable. You see, if you install a fuel cell in the customer's home, he wants to get power and heat and doesn't want to have any interruption of supply. In these field tests, we showed that the reliability of the fuel cells is now at a level of 99%. And this reliability is very comparable to all other technologies. The next point is the initial cost, the investment costs. You are right. Right now, the costs are too high. But what are the mechanisms to reduce the costs? One major mechanism, and this drives the cost by 50%, is volume. But this is not the only and single one. It's also value engineering, it's value chain management, and it's also technology development to reduce the cost of production. But you can't do it without starting the business. You see, compare it with other technologies like heat pumps, like photovoltaic. If you remember photovoltaic in Germany, we started with the 1,000 roof program. The next was the 10,000, the 100,000 program. And this is something we all have to understand. The customer have to understand, the government has to understand, and also the industry. We are not able to make jumps from 0 to 100,000 units. We have to have a growth step by step.
Okay. Any other short question at the moment? Yeah.
Geitmann von der Zeitschrift H2 vom Hydrogeit Verlag. One more question to you, Mr. Ballhausen. You just told everything is fine, excellent, but one of these companies which are representing at the IBZ booth is ceramic fuel cells, and this company became insolvent. What went wrong in this Australian company and also in the company in Heinsberg?
So first I would like to correct, ceramic fuel cells is not insolvent. We are in a preliminary insolvency process looking for investors. But I guess this is a very good example to show the problem of the industry. You see, all companies represented at the booth invested a lot of money. In the case of ceramic fuel cells, close to 300 million euro in this technology. And investors are looking, how can we approach the market? To approach the market, for sure, you have to show the cost reduction of the technology. You have to show your sales forces and your distribution channels are working successful. But on the other hand, when we discuss with investors, they are asking, what are the key factors to get this company, to get this project in the larger companies to success? And we have to accept that the initial costs, the production costs are on a very high level at that point of time. And we need to have this introduction program to create volume for the industry. If you are not able to create volume for the industry, investors get very careful and asking us, why should we invest into that company? So, but also to answer on the specific case of ceramic fuel cell, it's also now an opportunity. You see, going 20 years to the market and asking for additional investment is very hard. So now in that process, we are on a kind of restart, and we are very confident to find investors in this process and to keep the business running. It is running right now, but to have a long-term continuation of the Blue Gen story.
Okay, thank you, Andreas, for that answer. Bert, we have heard one of the major challenges, and I think more than one comments put on that, is the reduction of the capex. My understanding also of the recommendation of Roland Berger in the study was that the joint undertaking can contribute in the next period of time. You are not able to invest all the money, as you mentioned, which is necessary to put really thousands of units in the field, or even more than 10,000 units. That's not possible. What can you do in the next period of time, which reminds of a larger scale demonstration of a micro CHP fuel cells? Is there anything in the program?
The program of the joint undertaking as a industry-driven public-private partnership is mainly in the hands of the industry. It's up to the industry to come up with, next to a strategy, a long-term strategy, not a A-B strategy, but A-B-C-D strategy with the different phases, to come up with that strategy, and that, for that aspect, we are perfectly able to address two more, let's say, larger demonstration activities. We are, under Horizon 2020, basically a research and development program. We have to address the innovation aspect in every new demonstration activity. But next to that, we also, technically wise, but also we should try to stimulate how we can engage in market mechanisms. So it's not only just developing in a laboratory a nice working device, but the whole supply chain has to follow. You have to be able to make it, and then you have to be able to service it, install it. And as you know, a fuel cell micro CHP is slightly more complicated than a conventional gas boiler. Yeah, it is not only a gas connection you need and some water, but there's also a story about electricity. So with our funding, with our industrial partners who are going to define exactly what needs to be in the project, what needs to be addressed in that project, we will this year, next year, be able to fund some larger demonstration activities.
It's a good message, I think, on the roadmap. Fiona, also Markus has mentioned Ene.field already. Ene.field is the biggest, let's say, demonstration program, a little bit as a base and the further process of Calux within 500 units in Germany. You have the honor, I would say, to coordinate 26 partners, which is not easy, I think, sometimes. Could you already, because I think the project is more or less in the midterm now. We are progressed, but there are some rumors in the market that Ene.field is not performing. Is that right? Can you already show us the status of the program Ene.field?
For those who don't know Ene.field aims to put up to 1,000 micro CHPs, fuel cell micro CHPs, in over 10 member states in Europe. And the rumours are wrong. Ene.field has had a slow start, there's no doubt about it, and that may be why people are feeling, how is this going, what is going on? But the project has regrouped, shall I say. It's now using different channels than it originally had planned. That is a result of changes in the market itself. We are now looking in far more detail about where these units will go and how they will be deployed. We've begun to develop some of the additional channel which wasn't there before, but we have now put in place. And the project is now on a good road. Partly in response to the previous question as well, on how long does it take to get a technology like this to market. this is an innovation and market development project. They never go in straight lines. You put the plan in place, you begin to do the deployment, and then the learning and the discovery process begins. What is crucial is what you do to address that and the findings of the project. For me, Ene.field is very much in the right line to get to the target it needs, which is very important for this sector if it is to attract more funding. So for the Ene.field partners, it's very much a question now of delivering, and all of them are behind that message and are very much focusing on doing that.
Okay, fine. Erik, looking on the fact, I think joint undertaking is already in the phase 2. Calux is an important program we heard. Ene.field is now running. I know that the National Organization of Hydrogen and Fuel Cells in Germany are working on a phase 2. Can you already say, is there something planned as a, let's say, next step for the micro-CHP? What comes after Calux, or is it too early?
Yeah, so the NIP1, let's say this way, has some constraints. So it was actually funded for R&D and demonstration projects, not necessarily for market introduction. So there are some constraints in terms of funding rules and also in terms of budget. So it's difficult for us to directly react on the needs that the industry has after Calux to make a support of the market startup. This is definitely planned for the NIP2, the follow-up, which will hopefully start in 2017, which is not signed or decided yet. But to at least support a little in the time in between the follow-up and now, we created a new funding guideline to at least help a little within the next month and next year to get some other several hundred micro-CHPs at least into the market. We have some constraints there, maybe too much detail to discuss that now, but we hope to get several hundred things, micro-CHPs really into the market until end of next year. And for the follower of the NIP, we hope to support this in a larger scale, really get into the direction like let's say how Ene.farm does it, for example, to get really to high numbers there to support the market introduction.
Okay, but not yet defined, so we're working on a progress,
no decision
I think.
Yet.
I think we are nearly running out of time. It's close to 12 o'clock. Are there any other questions, finally, to the people on the panel? Not at the moment. Yes, one question here.
Good afternoon. See, from what I understand, I think the industry is stuck in a bit of a vicious cycle, you know. You are saying the volumes need to go up so that you can reduce the costs. But for the volumes to go up, the cost needs to be reduced, right? It's a bit of a vicious cycle right now. So I'm saying if you are looking more into a volume business, aren't you looking at this, maybe you should be looking from a top-down approach rather than you're looking at a micro-CHP for home applications. And if you are going to take this costly product to a home, the affordability is not there at all. So maybe this is just at the top of my head. I'm from India, as such. So why don't you target institutions like universities, colleges, where people are right now the drive is towards establishing more energy efficient solutions for the day-to-day activities. For example, lots of colleges in India, they are implementing their own solar energy field. Or my own college is putting up a 3 megawatt solar plant right now. So maybe the industry and institutions should involve together and do something about this. And
okay.
So that's my query.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think a short answer to Erik and maybe Bert as well, because I know there is a synergy already with the institutions, research and institutions, energy at European level, and also from you? Maybe both short statements to finalize the discussion.
There is no reason. There is no reason why we cannot do this. Again, it's what we say. The micro CHP is usually from 1 to maybe 5, maybe a little higher kilowatt. So in order to feed a college or university, you need a whole battery of these systems. You can go to the medium or the bigger ones. But yes, there is basically no reason why we cannot target specific organizations to implement working closer together. And in some of our projects, we do have that. Yeah. So it is possible. It's another, let's say, market segment. Yeah. You have the households where you get big volumes. The institutions, you might having fewer of those, but it's possible. Yes.
So in terms of working together, the NIP is a public-private partnership between industry and also institutions and colleges, universities, and so there is a strong contact in terms of research and in terms of buying things like micro CHP, as Bert mentioned, maybe they are not big enough, and also the market size maybe not the one that you really get out 100,000 of unit per year. So that's actually where the industry is looking for, and this is, as the study showed also from the EU, that there's the 1 and 2 family homes is the biggest market which is interesting at the moment.
Okay. So I think looking on the clock, 12:03, I would like to thank all my guests on the panel today. I think it was a very interesting discussion. We see there is still a challenge to bring the technology in the market. It was very clear for me, and also I think for you, that the technology is ready. There is a commitment from the industry. We have frame conditions as well on the European level, and both the German ones, for example, as one of the lead market for this technology. But it's still a challenge to bring now the volumes up, to get the costs down. The synergies with the research institutes are already there, and we should never stop research and development parallel to the market introduction programs now, that's for sure. I would like to thank you all as well to you for your contribution and your questions. And yeah, closing the sessions today. Wish you a nice stand here in the group exhibition. Have a nice day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.